B.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh. Hello, sorry you all. Technical difficulties. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That's how my day's been going all day. At least the physical aspect of it has been good. I haven't had any pain, so it was a pain-free day. Hello, Shiwana, how are you? Hope you're feeling better. Hi, Gigi, how are you? Welcome to the live. Welcome you all. Welcome 50 plus. How are you? Welcome, Bernice. Thank you so much for coming. Why are you looking sad, Chili? You must be feeling my vibes. You must be sad for me. Welcome, welcome. I appreciate you all being here. I know you could have been somewhere else, and from my understanding, the Crockett Way is live. Right now, she went on at the same time I've been scheduled. Brayla, I need you. So you could have been anywhere, and you chose to come here with me. Unfortunately, I don't have the usual story that I have for you all nightly. That's how my day went. I have a story. It's my story, not my story from my book, but my story. It's my story. It's a story. Turn down a little bit. Thank you. So, how's everybody's day? I hope everybody's day was a lot better than mine. Everybody had a good day. Gigi, Shawana, 50 plus, Bernice. Everybody had a good day. I pray their day was a lot better than mine. Chili, you didn't ever tell me why you got this sad face on. Vernis, YT cheerleader. Shawana, how you feeling? I know you've been sick. You feeling okay? 50 plus, how you feeling? I know you have your health challenges as well. How's everybody feeling? Okay, Gigi said thanks to Bernice. Shawana says yes. Bernice says no, I am still under the weather. Oh, I didn't know you were sick, Bernice. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you feel better soon. Gigi says hello to Pandy here. Hi, Pandy. How are you? So glad you joined me in the live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I welcome you all. I sure appreciate having you here. Like I said, I have a story for you tonight. It's not your usual story with the shout outs. How my day went, I wasn't able. Gigi says she's doing well. She wanna say it's much better. Thank you. She wanna feel better. Bernice tell her feel better. 50 says I'm doing good. Thanks. Pandy's speaking to Gigi, gluten free, creative. Hi, Creative Creole. How are you? So glad that you could join me for story time. Gigi says, Bernice, I hope you feel better. Shiwana is saying hi to Creative Creole. Pandy is saying hi to 50 plus. 50 speaking to Pandy. And Bernice says, welcome to the live. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Welcome to the live. Please, if you forgot to thumbs me up, please do. I was going to cancel story time because I had a really lousy, crappy day today. And I said no. I said, Creole says her and the kids are watching. Oh, this story might make the kids cry, Creative Creole. Creative Creole says hi, GT. Hi to Gigi and Payne. Hi, Patrick Brown. How are you? Welcome to the live. So glad you could make it. Creative Creole, my story tonight might make the children cry. I don't know if you want to let the children watch story time tonight, you might want to catch a replay that you they haven't heard before. Gigi saying please thumbs up the live. Creative Creole. Hi, Creative Thinking. How are you? So glad you could join me tonight. Patrick Brown and Creative Creole says my daughter just looked at me like, oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's not anything that's derogatory, anything like that. It's just something dealing with my health stuff and stuff like that. So I don't want to make the babies cry. So I don't think tonight is a good night for them to hear my story. Gigi speaking to Patrick. Crib thinking is saying that you're good. Okay, and Crib says, okay, thanks for the warning. I'll let you run in the phone. Yeah. So I don't want to do something and then you look at it and be like, oh my God. Maybe she should have warned me. So, yeah, you might want to just let them catch one. I know they look forward to it, and I'm glad that you all spend that time together, enjoying my story together. And the kids, I know they're excited and looking forward to it. But like I said, I didn't have time to put into the usual stories that I have, and I did not want to cancel story time because I know that you guys look forward to it. But I just wanted to share my story and then kind of rant a little bit. And I figured you all could support me and help me rant. So I'm going to go ahead and read my story. Once upon a time, I was a special education teacher. I taught special education students with various disabilities. I taught special education students from the severe and profound students up to the moderately intellectually disabled students with all kinds of diagnoses and exceptionalities. And when I taught my students, not only did I teach them the ABCs, the academic aspect of it, I also taught my students life skills. Aside from teaching them life skills, everyday life skills that we do, a lot of my students, when I taught the severe and profound intellectually disabled students, had a lot of physical, mental impairments. So it required me not only to teach the academics, but it also required me to be a mother to those students. I had to help a lot of those students walk. I had to change diapers. I had to do all sorts of things that a parent would do for a child with those exceptionalities. But I care for those children. See, I'm getting emotional myself. I'm sorry. But I care for those students like they were my own children. Some couldn't feed themselves, and so many other things that they couldn't do. And one day, life threw me a curveball. It was the hardest ball I ever caught. That ball was thrown so hard to me that it took my breath away. It knocked the breath out of me. My curveball's name is cancer. And I found myself now thinking, who is going to care for me like I care for my students? I found myself faced with so many different challenges, both physical, mental, and financial. My students require so much care that I lived for the weekend not to hang out and party, but just to get rest. Because I was so tired because my job was so taxing. And for me to know how much it took out of me physically, mentally, emotionally to care for my students. When I thought about who would take care of me, I thought about how taxing it would be on them. And I taught the high school students. So you're talking about students big as me or bigger than me. And you're having to lift and lug and tug and all kinds of stuff, just everything, to toileting, to everything that I had to do for them. And I thought about my situation, and if I was to the point where I couldn't be mobile and things like that, how taxing it would be on someone else. And even though I have a wonderful family and they've been very supportive, and I don't have family where I live other than my son. And so my family were catching flights every week. Catching flights every week to come see about me. And take me to all these appointments, CAT scans and brain scans and chemo appointments and just all kinds of appointments. And even financially, you think when you have these insurance that they cover, you think you're okay because you have medical insurance through your employer, and it's not until you're diagnosed with a disease like the one I have that you find that your insurance is almost like nothing, and the medical bills start piling in, and your salary is no longer what it used to be. And the rule for work is we pay you 60% of your salary, but you still you lose income, but your bills don't change. It remains constant, but you gotta try to do so much with so much less. And even though my family is wonderful, and my friends and Gigi and another really, really good friend, and my family has been wonderful, it still doesn't change the fact that you feel like you're being a burden to people, because they have their lives, they have their families, they have children, they've had to leave husbands, from my sisters to my nieces and nephews, and everybody's been chipping in and spending airfare every week to come in here to see about me. But and I know the trips to all the doctors and stuff have been taxing on me, and sometimes I could feel even their frustration, not with me, but with the process. And so, because it affects everybody, it doesn't just affect, the illness doesn't just affect the one individual, it affects everybody. And with all, and with the chemo, I went through a period where I couldn't walk for like 3 months. And I had family members, they've had to bathe me. My son has had to carry me up the stairs and put me in the hot tub to try to get swelling down and soothe it. And you just feel so helpless and just feel like a burden on people. And sometimes I could tell that family members were just so tired with the process too. Those long days at the chemo, it's an all-day process. And some of you have probably seen my video on what a day of chemo is like, and it's like from leaving my house from 8 o'clock in the morning and getting back home 8 o'clock at night, and then to have to turn around and go to multiple appointments in a run of a week. And I could see where they were even tired with just the constant caring for me. And so it makes you feel bad, even though you know that you have people, good people in your life to support you. But, it's still so much, and then you try not to burden people with your problems and whatever. And I guess I'm just full because, it got so overwhelming, with the finances and spending like $2,000 a month out of my pocket, just co-payments to get these tests that I have to get. And so you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And so it got to a point where I was paying my mortgage 1 month, my car note the next month, because there's not enough to go around, and my mortgage, and then falling behind. And so I got up this morning, and I wasn't even at home. I was like an hour or so away from the house, and they repossessed my car. And I had called them and tried to make an arrangement for them to put the rears on the back and let me move forward from there. But I really believe it's because I have cancer that they didn't want to work with me. Because I know that a lot of times they do, but they ask you this series of questions. Well, why did you fall behind? And what is your income? And stuff like that. And then they, I had to tell them, why I had the sickness or whatever. And then they asked this question too in the series of questions. Well, is anything going to change with your situation? And you sitting there thinking, what the heck do you mean? Is anything going to change? I'm not God. I can't, I didn't say that to them, but I'm thinking I'm not God. I don't know if my situation is going to change. I have stage 4 cancer is what I was diagnosed with right out the gate. So I don't know. I don't know if my stage 4 cancer is going to leave in a month or two, And I think because they know I have cancer, that they figure it's a waste of their time, because that's what it's all about with businesses. It's about them making money. And I think that they figure, well, why waste their time to do that for me, and I'll probably be in the same situation a few months down the line, But that's the type of world we're in now, where they don't have compassion, And so they took my car. And then the funny part about it is, then when I called to find out, because I had my stuff in the car, and I try to plead to them again, and still it's, I understand your problem, your situation, and I'm simple, I really feel and understand, and I'll be praying for you. But at the same time, then you tell me, but the only way I can get my car back is to pay off the balance of the car. And I'm like, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. I'm behind with the car payment, 3 payments now, because you all wouldn't work with me last month, but I can't pay the 3 payments up front to get current, but I could pay a $20,000 balance off. Okay, well, that made a lot of sense, to them, obviously. So it's like, and so then, I got to hear the speech about, well, your car is at the whatever you call that place, what they call, I don't know what they call it, but I call it the car pound. And then they say, and I just want to let you know, it's a $15 a day, in case you go get the car, it's a $15 a day storage fee. And if they want to charge you more than that, just let us know. But I'm still thinking, what part of, I don't have $20,000 to pay off a car in full, which is what you're telling me I got to do. And that's the only way I can get my car back. But anyways, they proceed to tell me about the $15 a day storage fee. And then they say, also keep in mind, if they have to cut a key, which they will, because they don't have the keys, then that's going to be an additional fee. So they're running all this down to me, and I'm thinking, really? And I'm like, lady, just tell me where to go get my stuff, because that makes no sense to me. If I couldn't pay 3 payments up front, how am I going to pay off? You know, and then their attitude, they're so just nonchalant, like, you know, it's no big deal. So, you know, I just don't understand. I don't understand these people, and I don't understand these companies. And the thing about it, I asked to speak to supervisors, and you always get that, oh, well, the supervisor's just going to tell you the same thing I told you. And that's what I had last month when I called them and was trying to work something out. And then they put somebody else on the phone who was allegedly the supervisor. And a lot of times I don't even think they put supervisors. I think they put the tailor next to them on the phone. But, you know, this is what goes on. You know what I mean? But that's how my day went. So here I had to call someone to drive all the way out there to pick me up. And then I had a couple of stops I needed to go to make. But I thank God for good friends, because I had to go to the Metro store about my phone business. And you know, then I wanted to do early voting and things like that. And then on top of the car situation, it was raining cats and dogs. And it just was a horrible day. And it just was a horrible, horrible day. You know, but I mean, outside of that, I mean, I thank God it was a pain-free day, because I guess that could have added to my problem. But it's just something. It's just something, and I really believe that that's the reason they would not work with me, is because of that, because they felt like they would have been wasting their time, and I think it just does not make sense. So, and then they're telling me where to go, well, who had the car, and I found out or whatever. Then I call, and then they tell me, I call one place, they find the information, then they tell me where the other place that actually had the car and tell me to call. Then I call there, and then the girl is like, oh, I can't give you the information. We don't have 1 day turnaround. You have to call me back tomorrow in the morning sometime, and maybe I can tell you something. Then I asked her for the address where they were. Well, she want to know why I want the address when I can't come before tomorrow anyways. And I'm like, because y'all, you know, you all have my car, so I need to call someone to try to drive me all the way out there to get the car. And the car is like 2 hours away from where I live. And I got to see if that person even wants to drive that far. You know, and then the lady was like, okay. And she gives me the address, but please don't come until tomorrow. So they're closed for tomorrow. But everybody's like so nonchalant about it. Like, it's not their problem. You know what I mean? And then the people that I spoke to on the phone for the car company were kind of borderline rude, and it still was like this, like, it's not my problem, you know. But I said to one lady, I said, you know, I said, I hope if life throws you a curveball and you're ever in a situation like me, I hope that the person that you have to deal with when you fall on your financial hardship, I hope that the person that has to help you treats you a whole lot better than how you're treating me. You know, I said, because one thing about it is, you always have to remember, when you spit in the wind, it comes back in your face. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. And you can tell when people, you know, you have some people with dealing with these companies, they go far and beyond, you know, out of their way. And I understand policies are policies and rules are rules, but I've been around long enough to know that they could have done something different for me, because I've had that happen in the past years ago when I had to go, when I was pregnant with my son, and I had to go on complete bed rest by the 3rd month of the pregnancy. And so I was off from work the entire pregnancy and afterwards before I went back, and those people did not have a problem putting whatever payment or deferring payments to help me out. So I don't understand what these people are doing. Okay, see, Edward says some companies will allow you to pay the monthly interest only, no principal. They can do this for 3 months. It doesn't extend your payment time. Okay, but they didn't even give me any options, Edward. They didn't give me any options other than pay the car off to get the car back. They didn't say we could look, we could try, nothing. You know, that's all they offered me. Each time I called them, that's all they offered me. You know, and but that's the world we're living in. But like I said, I really believe they didn't want to help me at all because of my diagnosis, because they feel like, why extend themselves, and maybe in a couple of months or whatever I'll be back in the same boat. And I think whomever I spoke with, I think that was their thought process, you know. And it's just ridiculous. It's just like I said, it's just ridiculous. And like I said, they claim they let me speak to a supervisor, and that person told me the same thing that the first person told me, you know. But it's just crazy, you know. And I don't know, but I didn't mean to be a Debbie Downer. It's just that, like I said, I was so just done and just so out of it. I didn't have time to prepare my story because mentally I couldn't handle it mentally. But like I said, I didn't want to cancel my time that I spent with you all, because this is one of the positive times for me. This is one of the positive times for me, is when I do the story time and spend time with you all. Because if I didn't have this, a lot of times I'd be sitting here, and who knows, I may, you know, think more of my situation. And it's not that I don't trust God, because I trust God, and I know that He has the final say, and I know that He's in control of it, because like I've shared with some of you already, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer right out the gate. And they said I have one of the most deadliest, aggressive cancers there is, that they don't have a lot of options for. And I've heard people say, you know, a loved one was diagnosed with cancer and the same kind I have, and in 3 months' time they were dead. And here I am sitting right here 2 years later, and the doctors look at me and don't know what to think, and they call me miracle. And they're still trying to figure out how the cancer hasn't beat me in these 2 years. And all I can tell them is, to God be the glory. And I know that my situation will work out. It's just so frustrating, because now I don't have a car, you know, to get to my medical appointments and stuff. You know, there's so much you need a car for. And, you know, sometimes I was able to find someone to take me to chemo. If they didn't have a car, I would let them drive my car to take me there, you know. And so that's a frustration for me, you know. Like, I got all kinds of appointments, and then next week I got PT a couple of days a week, and I'm supposed to get this CAT scan done and stuff like that, and just trying to figure out, you know, how I'm going to get there. And I know it'll work out some kind of way, but it's just frustrating, you know, when I know that it doesn't have to be that way. But, you know, you think about man, and when they have control of stuff, sometimes people
when they have control of stuff, they want to exercise their control or their authority over stuff without really thinking the situation through with the compassion of God for people. And like I said, unfortunately, that's the time we live in, you know. So I gotta figure it out. I gotta figure something out. You know, I don't know. I'll continue to pray about it, and I know God will give me some direction to take. You know, and you know, the Word of God says all things work together for our good, and I know that that's even the bad, and because you set one over the other. And I have to continue to remind myself of what the Word of God says. And we all are human, and we all have our moments where we fall subject to our situation. But He says all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord, who are called according to His purpose. And I firmly believe His Word. And, you know, even though it's a bad situation for me, but in a way, I see the good in it. The bad is they took my car, and I got to figure out a plan B, what I'm going to do, where I'm going to go. But in reality, with them taking my car away, they've taken away some of that financial burden, you know. So now, you know, having to figure out how I'm going to make the monthly payment and pay the insurance. So that's the good. That's the, how do they say, the silver lining, or however that saying go. So that takes some financial burden off of me from that regard. But like I said, it's just a traumatic experience that I've never had to experience in my life. And I know I'm not the first person that has encountered this sort of thing, and I know I won't be the last. But it's still upsetting, like I said, because it puts you in a situation where you have to figure out a plan B, and it's a situation where you don't have a lot of time to figure it out. You know, it's different if I, you know, didn't need a car that much. And then the thing is, I live in an area where we don't have public transportation. That's another thing. They don't have public transportation where I live to get me, to my appointments. And my chemo is like 45 minutes away from where I live without traffic. But normally that ride is 2 hours one way and 2 hours coming back. And I can't afford the Uber. The Uber ride out there is like, one way is like $55 one way. So I can't afford that. You know, but I know it's going to work out. I know it's going to work out for my good. It's just that, you know, I'm human and we have our moments. And, you know, it's funny because I'm not a crybaby type person. I've never been a person that cry very easily. And Edward says, does your county or insurance offer free transportation to medical appointments? Not there. They have, my county has like this little shuttle type bus, but they don't leave my county. They just take you around in my county, and I think it costs you like $8 one way. But other than that, we don't have anything. They don't have anything where it's free transportation. No, that same bus service offers like the seniors, instead of them paying $8 one way, they'll pay like $3 one way. But we don't have any free shuttles or anything down here. And the only bus they have that comes this way, it's an express bus, and they only run certain hours, and they just cater to the people who work down in Atlanta. And the last bus coming into where I live, they stop like at coming in stops like at 6, I think, but it doesn't go where my hospital that I have to go to. So no. And then I got a few free rides with the American Cancer Society. Has this contract with this company called Userve, and they offer me so many rides, but the problem is they said because I have to go so far, my one way kind of counts like a round trip. So I used up whatever little funds they allocated to take me faster than somebody would normally use them up, because my round trip is over $100 round trip. And so they have what they call volunteers, and they actually called me today to tell me they could not find a volunteer to take me, which they never could find a volunteer, because they always said they try to use the volunteer service first. And then they call me back, like I have to call them on Mondays. They have to have 2 days advance notice. But if I talk to them on Monday, they'll ask me for if I have the appointments for several weeks out. And what they'll do is they'll go ahead and put me on their books for all those days tentatively. Then I have to call them on Monday to confirm that I am going to go to chemo that week. And then they search with these volunteers to see if one of the volunteers can take me. And then if they can't get the volunteer to take me, then they would use that company called Userve, which is like a company where it's like Lyft and Uber type drivers. And what happens is, because for one, I have to go so far, and for two, the time that I have to stay, the length of time, none of the volunteers ever want to take me. So they could never use the volunteers. So they always had to use that company. But because I go so far, like I said, and my trip is over $100, I used up my trip so fast. It did give my family a little relief for, I think for December, January, February. Because my family was flying in since May of 2018 up until right around Thanksgiving. And then I used that service from that time up until I used up my last ride when I went to chemo the other week. And then they didn't even have a ride to take me round trip. They only took me one way, and they said that's all they could do. So they did call me today, but it was just to tell me, because even though I used up whatever monies for the service, they still have me on call for a volunteer. And so they called me today for tomorrow, because I have to go to chemo tomorrow. And they called me today to tell me they could not find a volunteer to take me. So my plan was to have my son's girlfriend drop me off and have my son pick me up when he got off from work. And the problem with him taking me now at this point, because he took me some trips too, was he just started a new job. So he's not eligible for the FMLA yet. But what his job said they would do, they would let him not take lunch. He gets off 5:30, so they would not let him take lunch, and they would let him use his lunch late in the day to leave at 4:30, so he could drive down there to get me. And that's what happened last time I went to chemo. And by the time he got down there in the traffic, he got down there after 6. So I just had to sit and wait. And then we didn't get home till like almost 8:30 that night. But now that they took my car, he doesn't have a way to come get me. And so his girlfriend is going to take me to chemo tomorrow. The problem with that is she has to be to work at 11 o'clock. So she's got to drop me off, leave here at 8 o'clock to drop me off all the way down there in order to get back on this end for her job. And then my chemo appointment isn't until 2 o'clock. So I got to sit down there at the hospital all those hours before chemo, and then all those hours during and after until someone can come get me. So all of that is just part of my frustration with the whole thing, because like I said, even with that, you know, going through what I'm going through, it makes it even more you know, of a burden not even having my car to allow somebody to drive my car to take me or pick me up, you know. So that's my frustration, and it just ruined my whole day. It just ruined my whole day. But like I said, I didn't want to miss story time, because that's like the highlight of my day. You know, that's one thing that I feel like I have that's still positive. And like I said, I didn't want to miss story time. I apologize that I didn't have your usual story for you, and I know some of you are probably taken back by my story today, but I did say on my channel that I would share my my medical stuff, and so, you know, it is a part of what it, I guess it is what it is. But I thank you all for not running off and leaving because you didn't get the usual story. I appreciate you hanging right here with me. And believe it or not, even though I'm still crying, it's more out of frustration than anything. But I do, since I had this cry, I do feel a lot better. Patty says, Miss Deborah, have you reached out to one of the hospital's social workers? They may have resources available to help coordinate transportation to your chemo appointments. Patty, I reached out to everybody when I first got this this diagnosis and started getting those medical bills, the portions like they had me to have to pay out all these co-payments and stuff. Both to I have Kaiser insurance, and what happens is Kaiser, if any of you all have Kaiser, know about Kaiser. Kaiser has a monopoly on the doctors and all the kinds of services, even down to the pharmacy. So I can't even buy medication from a regular pharmacy, Walmart or CVS or any of those places, because Kaiser, you have to get it. If I want to get it covered under my insurance, I have to get it from their facility. All of their tests and different things like that, I have to get it from them. Like so what happens is they forked me out to a what's the name of the hospital? I can't even think straight right now. But anyways, they referred me out to an oncology doctor that's not a Kaiser doctor. So what happens is I accumulate bills in both places. I accumulate bills from Kaiser because I have to do all of my blood work, all of my tests, different kinds of tests at Kaiser. So I was paying co-pays over there. Then when the hospital ordered tests and stuff like that, and I had other things that had to be done, like for instance, okay, every Tuesday I have to get my blood work taken at Kaiser for chemo for Thursday. They have to have 2 days to get the blood work. So what happens is, if that the outside doctor sends a referral to Kaiser for me to get the blood work, I get the blood work at Kaiser. Now, they could take, I have a port in my chest where they do the chemo and they could draw blood and all this kind of stuff. But what happens is, Kaiser people that do the blood, I forget what you call them, they're not trained to pull the blood from, they're not trained to draw the blood from the port. So every time they have to go through my veins. Well, of course, with the veins constantly being used like that, you build up what they call scar tissue. So, and it's very painful. And so when they're going in with those, doing those CAT scans and all that kind of stuff, and they got to do the dye in between all of that. So what happens is, if I go get they could do the blood work at the hospital and actually pull it through the port, but if I do it at the hospital, then I'm going to accumulate a bill over there, and Kaiser won't pay the bill over there. So I've had a few procedures that had to be done over at the hospital that Kaiser will only cover a portion of them, and then the rest of the bill came to me. So it's all of that. So I was accumulating bills in both places, and so what happened is, at the time that I first started this journey, I was still had leave and things like that, so I was getting paychecks from my job. Well, I applied for their financial assistance because I found out they had financial assistance at both Kaiser and the hospital, and they said I didn't qualify for it because of my income. And I asked for also about transportation and different things like that. But they so what happened is, once my leave ran out and I didn't get checks from my job anymore, and they made me file for disability, my income dropped to 60% of my salary. So then I applied again, and they said, so now I qualified. So the hospital was the ones who referred me to the American Cancer Society and about the transportation. But when they referred me, they made it seem like it was something ongoing. They didn't tell me it was just they had a limited amount of funds. And so that's what happened. And they say they don't have any other type of transportation, not the American Cancer Society, the hospital doesn't, because that's who they connected with for people who needed some kind of assistance with transportation. And then my insurance don't provide transportation to take me there. So that's the problem. So I'm kind of like on my own with that. And like I said, I caught a Uber down there before, and I just can't afford to pay over $100. Even financial services and stuff like that, and they say they don't really have anything, and they try to refer you to somebody local in your county area, like for instance, like for energy assistance and stuff. But my county doesn't have a program like that, so they gave me a number to the next county over. And a lot of times you run into the issue where you don't live in this county, and so it's just been crazy. So all of this I looked into way back when I first started this journey in the early part of 2018. Penny says, "Oh, I understand. Just was trying to think of a way to help with the transportation issue. Definitely praying things turn out around." Yeah, Penny, and I appreciate you brainstorming, because a lot of times two heads are better than one. And one of the issues that I have with the chemo is they call it the chemo brain, and so I have sometimes memory issues or processing issues sometimes. So that's good that somebody else could help try to brainstorm about. But my niece, one of my nieces, my oldest niece was kind of, I raised her. My sister got her mom got killed real young at age 31, and I took her on, and my niece, I think at the time was about 12 years old, and I raised her and everything, and so she's kind of like a daughter to me, really. And so she's the one that like came in and coordinated everything, had a calendar and contacted all my siblings, my nieces, nephews, everybody, and had on the calendar who could come from this time to that time and take me here and there, every appointment, every whatever, and all kinds of things, and making calls and stuff. So she was on all of that for me. Brian says, maybe family that lives near the center you can live with, or is there an Uber or Lyft charity and can assist? Vernon, I don't have any family that lives up here, so that's one thing. Like I said, my family was flying in every week, and then I'm in Georgia, Vernon. And then the only one that, like I said, went service that used that Lyft and Uber service is that one through the Cancer Society, and they referred me to that user. They call it user, which is really Lyft and Uber drivers that they use aside from their drivers, because there were times when they had to actually have the Lyft and Uber driver take me. Okay, my IGU. Are you telling me to hit you up on your IG, Vernis? It said, okay. Wait a minute. Okay, may I? You said, okay, may I IG you? Oh yes. You can IG me. Yes, I was a little confused at first with what I was reading. Yes, I'd appreciate it. Any information any of you have, I'd appreciate it. But that's pretty much the situation right now. But like I said, I do feel a little better since I was able to cry and get it out. Like I said, it was more out of frustration with the whole process, and because sometimes even just having to make all these doctor's appointments for me is just so overwhelming. You know, this one puts you on hold, and that one puts you on hold, and you're transferred here, and you're transferred there, and it's just such a ordeal. It's such an ordeal, even just dealing with all the medical appointments. You know, it's overwhelming, and sometimes I just tell the people I can't, especially after they like transfer me. Like today, I was on the phone about an appointment, and they transferred me like to 5 different people, and each time you got to start your story all over again. So that was going on too in the midst of this situation. And then each person that transferred you to the next person never told you they were transferring you to the next person, and then everybody gets on and you got to tell the story all again. And then after that, to do all that and then have them say, okay, hold on, just hold on a minute, and then next thing you know, you get somebody else on the phone. Hi, may I help you? And so all of that, it was just overwhelming. It was just way too much, and it gets like that. It just gets overwhelming, like I said, and then to have that happen on top of it. But guys and gals, if you think of anything that was good information Edward gave me, at which I know they usually help you, and like I said, I feel they didn't help me because of my diagnosis, because that I like I said, I've had that happen before. And Miss Iris says Lyft does a free rides program that I will be looking into tomorrow. It offers free rides to medical appointments. I do not know if it is here in Georgia, but I will find. Thank you so much, Miss Iris. Thank you so much, because I had asked the guy from the American Cancer Society, since they work with that company called User, and I know that company sometimes had to actually use Lyft and Uber drivers to pick me up. But he told me they didn't know of any free programs that those people offered. So I'd appreciate that very much, Ms. Iris, if you can get that information for me. You know, it is It is. I will find. I know you will, and I appreciate you so much for that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So I'm covered tomorrow. I just got to be there and sit all day before, all morning before my appointment, and then during the appointment, and then afterwards. But at least I got a ride. One of my friends has a class in the morning, and so she will get out of her class about 2:00, and then she'll drive down there and get me. So I just have to sit tight until she can get there. Penny says, I know some hospitals coordinate the cancer treatment centers in America. I believe they assist with transportation to medical appointments. Maybe check into that as well. Well, which cancer treatment centers are you talking about, Pandy? Because that hospital referred me to the American Cancer Society, and those were the people who helped me out for a little while. So, what other cancer treatment centers? Is that the name of it? The Cancer Treatment Center of America? Is that the name of the place I should call, Pandy? Because, like I said, the hospital I go to for the cancer treatment referred me to the American Cancer Society. In fact, they have a rep that hangs out at the hospital for that reason and bring you the application. And she actually brought me the application during one of my treatments when she knew I was going to be there, and she was saying that's the best they can do. And like I said, when I called their office and stuff also, they said that that's the best they could do as far as transportation, and I've exhausted whatever funds they allocated for me, because sooner than people normally would, because I have to go so far. But anyways, you all, thank you so much for coming in to story time with me. I know that wasn't the story, Pandy says. That is the part I'm not clear on, but yes, that is the name, and they do have multiple locations. Okay, I'm gonna look into that and see. I don't know if they only do it for people being treated at their facility. That's my thought process. But nothing beats a failure but a try, because if I don't call them, then I don't get the help. And the worst case scenario, if I do call them and they can't help me, then at least I tried. So thank you for that information, and I'm going to look into it and see. But my thought is possibly that they only do that for patients coming to their facility. But I will look into it. I definitely will look into it. And I was, like I said, able to get the assistance since my income has decreased substantially. So I don't have to pay all those co-pays when I go to the hospital now. They'll take up any co-pays that I have through their assistance program. So I just applied a couple of weeks ago, and they approved me. And so Gigi says, no problem, you are an angel and God is still in charge. Thank you, Gigi. And I know that you all, it's just like I said, we all have our moments that we kind of succumb to our situation, and then it takes us to reflect and remind ourselves of what God does for us and what He has already done for us, and just the fact that He allowed me 2 years beyond when they said it didn't look good. And so to me, that's a bigger blessing than worrying about the car. And I know that if He brought me through that, He'll bring me through this, and He's brought me through so many other things, challenges in the past. But it's just, like I said, it's the frustration. I think it's the constant build up. Sometimes the constant build is like one thing after another. It's like one thing. It's like, okay, so I got over that hurdle. Here comes something else. Okay, I dodged that ball. Here come another one flying at my head. So it's like a constant build up. And it's sometimes it's like just when you feel like you're coming up for air, then it's like someone just pushes your head back down under the water to try to drown you again. And I guess that constant build up where sometimes we just get to the point where it's like we just have to release. And, you know, I think that's where I was, because like I said, I've never been the type that cry very easily. I've always been kind of, and I know that my sister was talking to me one time, and she looked at me and she said, because I don't think she saw me cry when I got my diagnosis or whatever. They didn't see me cry. I was always so upbeat or whatever. And she looked at me and she said, I just want to let you know it's okay to cry if you feel like you want to cry. It's okay to scream at the top of your voice and yell if you feel like that's what you want to do. You don't have to be so strong all the time. You know what I mean? And me being strong wasn't because I felt like I refuse to let anybody see me cry. It wasn't that. It's just I've just never been a bucket of tears, you know. And my attitude always has been, okay, this happened. I can't afford to crumble. It's like, okay, this happened. All right, next. I guess I always felt like if I'm in a situation where I feel like I'm drowning, it's almost like, I don't know if any of you ever experienced drowning, but I did when I was a teenager, probably about 14, 13, and I almost drowned. And I remember being under that water and struggling to try to get to the top. But it seemed like the more I struggled, the deeper I sank. And in my mind, even though I continued to sink, I continued to struggle. And I was so tired, but I continued to struggle because I felt like if I just gave up, maybe in the midst of me struggling, I might be able to get back to the top. But if I just gave up, then I was going to be lost. I was going to drown. So life has kind of always been that way for me. Whenever I had a situation like that, I always felt like if I stopped and just gave up, that I would drown. And so that's how life has always been for me with my challenges that I've had. And it was like I can't afford to stop. You know, even though the waves are beating me down, I can't afford to stop, because if I stop, I'm gonna just drown. And so that's always how I felt in life, that if I just stopped. So I couldn't afford to sit down and worry about it. I had to quickly shift gears and come up with a new plan. And the thing is, because of that, I guess I didn't have time to cry, which sometimes I think is good, because you can release some pressure or whatever. I didn't have time to do that. So I think that's what it is. And so it kind of made me kind of tough in that regard. And so, like I said, it's not that I feel like there's a problem with crying or feeling what you feel. It's just that I always felt like I didn't have time to deal with that. I didn't have time to deal with feeling how I feel, or in the midst of a crisis, because that just made it worse. So I gotta just figure out how to get out of this crisis, and so I think that's a part of what took place. but I think now that I'm older, I mean, I still don't cry often, but you see, it happened today when I least expected it, and it's not like it's a situation where I feel like, oh gee, I don't want anybody to see me cry because, that's a sign of vulnerability. It's not that. It's just, I just was never, that way. But when I do feel it, I don't try to hold it, because I know that it is a form of release, and it helps me to relieve some of the tension and some of the pressure. And like I said, just with me talking to you guys about it and gals about it, I feel so much better. Earlier I felt tense. I felt my muscles were tight. I had a headache. But now that I had a chance to share, with you all, my body feels more relaxed now, and I don't feel all tense and everything, and I don't have the headache anymore or whatever. So I think it was much, much needed. And I don't know if I had not come on here to talk to you all, if I still would have been holding it like this, and I probably would have. Excuse me. So I do thank you all for coming in to see me. And I was a little concerned if, who was going to be here to see me tonight, because I know that, like I said, the Crockett Way and other people are on at the same time as I am. But I do know that you all are great supporters. But, even if I just had one person here to talk to get through what I went through today, is great. And it's even greater to have all of you all to sit. And Creative Creole, I want to apologize to you again, because I know you and the children look forward to the story time, but I appreciate your understanding. I just had to get it out. I just had to talk to somebody. I had to get a release. So I appreciate that. Ms. Iris says, 50 says, amen. 50 says, let it out. Don't hold it. Thank you, 50. G says, no sis, you're human. Pandy says, amen. But I appreciate you all. But I'm not going to prolong the time. I thank you all so much for allowing me to release and unload some of that tension and stress. I appreciate you so much for being here for me tonight. Always remember, until we meet again, may his peace be with you. And despite what I go through and despite my circumstances, did you see the IG message yet? Oh, I needed to check. I didn't know I needed to check it right now. I'm streaming from my phone, 50, so I'll look at it the minute I get off, and I'll IG you back, you and Vernice, and whoever else. I'll look at it the minute we get offline. But always remember, until we meet again, may his peace be with you. Love you too, Gigi. Love you all. And always remember, despite what I go through, I have a will to live. Thank you so much for coming out and spending story time with me. I love you all, and I'll see you next time at story time. Good night.